Hello and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am your mayor of PHNX, and we just saw the Arizona Diamondbacks lose to the Los Angeles Dodgers by a score of 6-4. Somehow that game looked much more winnable than, I guess, the third inning would indicate. I might be alone in that, but we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about if Slade Cecconi was in fact tipping his pitches, as was discussed on the broadcast by Bob and Steve. Of course, welcome in again. I am joined, of course, by my Thunderstick and your vice mayor, the one and only Jesse Friedman, here shortly, who will be in fact joining us from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles with more on tonight's loss. Of course, the big story tonight, aside from Slade Cecconi and if he was in fact tipping his pitches, was that Ketel Marte did extend his hitting streak in the very first inning to 19 games overall with a single in the first inning. Piece of Yoshi and I, we rarely agree, but we agree right there when it comes to his comment, right? I felt like we played a better game overall. I agree with that. I felt like overall the Diamondbacks played a pretty good game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Unfortunately, they had one inning turn on them and Slade Cecconi that resulted in this loss. Of course, the Diamondbacks did have a weird approach to this game. Torey Lovullo came into this game with Joe Mantiply as his starting pitcher, and he would quickly turn to Slade Cecconi. Joe Mantiply went out there. He got the start. He got through the top of the order in the first inning, and then they turned to Slade. Slade Cecconi had himself a decent second inning, and then that third inning came around, and according to Bob and Steve in the broadcast, Slade might have been tipping his pitches, which may have resulted in Freddie Friedman hitting a grand slam home run, as well as Will Smith also hitting a home run. So I want to bring in our producer, of course, the people's producer. It's not my producer. It's the people's producer, Damon Dog. Damon, what were your thoughts on, of course, the big story here being that Slade was tipping pitches? I mean, it's not like that's illegal. It's not like it's cheating by any stretch of the imagination for the opposing hitters to pick up on any signals the pitcher is giving. This would just be a mistake by Slade. But do you think that's what was going on, or do you think Slade was just kind of getting himself into some hot water against some very good hitters there in Los Angeles?
Well, I wasn't convinced when I was listening to it on the radio, but when I watched the replay after the game and post game here, and they showed Kike Hernandez go up to Mookie Betts and go and get in his ear and kind of like whisper something to him and
give him that information. Yeah.
And then they go on later to hit 2 more home runs in the inning, and they look like they're squaring up every baseball. Yeah, it does seem like they had some sort of tick that Slade was doing that made it where they kind of knew what was coming. And I guess, it's fair game, but it does suck when you're on the losing end of that, especially when you feel like you played a better game overall, other than the small portion of time where they knew what was coming to them.
I went back and rewatched the third inning. I started trying to play detective there a little bit and pick apart his outing. I mean, to be fair, there might have been something with his stride in regards to throwing a fastball versus an off-speed pitch. There might have been something more that I wasn't seeing that the hitters are seeing on their end. I, by no means, am an expert, so I would not trust me to pick up on it. However, you were right. There's a couple of things there that essentially tell me that he was, in fact, tipping his pitches. There was a lot of whispering going on, not just Kike Hernandez to Mookie Betts, but there was a lot of discussion going on in the Dodgers dugout. And then you got to give credit where credit is due. Brent Strom addressed the issue himself in the dugout. You saw Brent Strom bring over, the iPad and start showing Slade some footage of his outing, and Slade made adjustments that allowed him to go out there and continue to give the Diamondbacks, an effective outing, right? I disagreed with the broadcast when they said Slade was keeping this team in this game. He was very much not so. He gave up 6 earned runs in 1 inning. Let's not sugarcoat this.
Yeah.
However, it was impressive the way he was able to adjust and go back out there and continue to work and be effective against, once again, one of the best lineups in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, the broadcast was very complimentary of Slade. You're very much right about that. They kept being like, but Slade Cecconi was he obviously had a good, strong outing after giving up all the runs, but that's like
Right.
an easy thing that you could say about anybody that ever has a bad outing. But Slade continues to be the weirdest pitcher of all time.
Right.
He just gets rocked, and then he's untouchable. It's every time he pitches. It's
the other way around, or he's untouchable and then he gets rocked and he can't find his way
either
back.
way. He's either off or he's on, but it's in the same outing, and that's what's kind of weird about it.
Yeah, silver lining here, right? I do want to say that it was impressive what he was able to do, and when we talk at times about whether Slade Cecconi is a starting pitcher of the future, that's starting pitcher stuff right there. When you're able to adjust, figure out you were doing something incorrectly, and still go out there and get outs for not just 1 inning. I mean, he went 5 innings. He gave up 6 hits, 6 earned runs. All 6 were in that 3 innings, or in that 3rd inning. He walked 1. He struck out 2. 3 home runs allowed. Again, all 3 in that 3rd inning. So, I'm not gonna, applaud him for what happened and the way he imploded, right?
Yeah.
And I am going to agree with the broadcast. I'm going to agree with the assessment. Also, if you have the television broadcast, the radio broadcast, both picking up on the fact that he might be tipping pitches, that might be a little bit too much just to be a conspiracy theory, right? So where there's smoke, there's fire when it comes to him tipping pitches there tonight. This isn't the kind of team that you can give those signals to. They'll pick up on it. They share that information. They're a great baseball team. So, I think overall, what you could say is that if the Diamondbacks would have been able to limit the damage in that inning a bit more, they were in this game. And, they did the thing offensively there late. It looked like it was going to be another anemic offensive performance after just getting the 1 run through, 6 innings, but the Diamondbacks were able to put up 3 late. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. hits a first home run in over 30 days.
That was
nice to see.
Did you see him?
Yes.
We were all shocked. He was like, look, you could tell he was looking at the ball and he was like, did I just do that in a baseball game?
How did that happen?
Yeah.
What magic is this? Yeah, it's been a while. Hopefully, again, this is the start of something, right? I think, again, we've seen Corbin put together some better at-bats. He was 1 for 5 tonight. Still not a great night for him, but still got a hit tonight. But, I mean, he still struck out 3 times. We're still seeing him struggle. Gurriel, that was his only hit. He was 1 for 4. But still, offensively, 4 runs was almost enough. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds like loser talk. I felt like it loser talk coming out, but it's like that 6 run inning that went off the rails. But I mean, honestly, the Diamondbacks kept the Dodgers off the board the rest of the game and were able to put 4 runs up here. And it was a decent performance overall, had things not gone so poorly for Slade in that 1 inning.
Yeah. And Benjamin says it here in the chat, but how about Jake on that home run too? I wanted to talk about
the back-to-back jacks.
Bob with a great call, by the way. He was on the broadcast. He's literally talking about how Jake's was smashing it in BP, and then he goes out there, he yanks that one foul pretty hard, and then just hits a no-doubter. It feels good when you watch Jake hit a ball like that because I feel like sometimes he doesn't connect like that, but we've seen it. He can do that. And so he's playing pretty decent right now. It's weird.
Yeah.
The weird thing about this team is like, I was thinking about this, like a lot of the people that you came into the season with, maybe with a little bit more question marks about, have actually been pretty good. Like Jock and Randall Grichuk have done their jobs. Like, Kevin Newman has stepped in and been about as good as you could possibly expect out of him. But then it's like the staples of the team that are letting us down, Like Jake's been pretty good stepping in for Alec, but it's the Corbin Carrolls and the Gabbies and stuff that you're like, man, like, can we just figure it out?
Well, and to be fair, Eugenio Suarez has been a gigantic disappointment. And no matter how high the vibes are that he brings to this team, he's bringing a 212 batting average with a 603 OPS. And with everything that we had to say about what the Diamondbacks put together last year at third base and the platoon that they had over there, they still had better production than what they're getting out of a guy that they thought was going to be the answer to that solution. And I'm not saying, once again, I'm not saying he's not capable of that, but from what we're seeing right now, Gino is even underperforming based on the very, very poor projections that Fangraphs and other websites had for him, during this offseason. So, that feels like a big missing piece, but like what you're alluding to, Gabriel Moreno tonight, 0 for 4, just didn't have a great night. I mean, things weren't going the Diamondbacks way, and they continue not to go the Diamondbacks way. I'm not going to lean on that too much, but Ketel Marte.
You're right. Yeah.
Ketel Marte hit a ball 117 miles per hour off the bat.
Smoked it.
It was the hardest hit ball of the season by any Arizona Diamondbacks player.
Wow.
And he hit it right at Mookie Betts. I don't even know what to say anymore when these things happen. I really don't.
That's the story of the season, for sure.
I mean, he did extend his career hitting streak to 19 games, which is incredibly impressive. We're starting to venture into historic territory when it comes to Ketel Marte, but he can't do it alone, Damon. He just can't.
No, he can't. It's sad. I feel bad for him because he's the one that he hasn't lost his stride since the World Series run. He's just been going the whole time. He started the season hot.
You're right.
He's been hot the whole way. He's been carrying us. Everybody else has been in and out, being good and bad. Then there's Corbin, who's just been bad, but Ketel's been good the entire time. And so it sucks for him because it's like if everybody else was playing on his level, then who knows how good we could be right now.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the count presented by our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, because I think
let's take a look at the King Snake first.
You want to take a look at the King Snake?
I would like to take a look at the King Snake.
Well,
first.
it's not Ketel, because Ketel's too easy. Like Ketel deserves the King Snake.
It is.
But let's give it to Kevin Newman, because Kevin Newman, once again, my guy, 3 for 4, one RBI, 1 run scored. He continues to do it. He's trying to help Ketel. He's trying to be the other guy. And going back to what you said, man, talk about a big question mark. Talk about a guy that we completely overlooked. Kevin Newman, as of late, has been the second highest producer of offense, and maybe even more so because Ketel's had a lot of one-hit games, whereas Kevin Newman has had multiple multi-hit games now for the Diamondbacks here over the last 2 weeks. And again, he's his back must be aching from trying to pick this team up and do it himself, and carry this team.
God, if you told me where we would be at the start of the season after game one, we put it on the Rockies, if you would have said
sick, you'd be sick.
In 2 months, Kevin Newman is going to be your best player. I think I might have quit. Doesn't that hurt to hear, just to say out loud?
It's the worst, Damon. It's absolutely the worst.
I hate it so much. I hate it here. What has happened to my beautiful franchise? What happened to my beautiful baby Corbin? And yes, Groundhog Mama, I am in a cave. I'm in the dog cave.
Yeah, he's in the dog cave, and it's rightfully so. He's groveling in sadness based on what we saw tonight. Can we take a look at the count now presented by our friends at Desert Financial Credit
I
Union?
guess.
Because this, again, six runs to 4. Of course, the Dodgers win this one. Diamondbacks actually out-hit the Dodgers 10 hits to 9. Dodgers were 2 for 3 with runners in scoring position. Diamondbacks 2 for 7. Once again, plenty of opportunities, even with the lack of offense, even with the lack of production. They had the opportunities there. They just weren't able to convert those opportunities. Dodgers get those 3 home runs in that 3rd inning. Diamondbacks get those 2 back-to-back jacks there in the 8th. Hard hit percentage here, though, impressive by the Dodgers, 51.9%. Diamondbacks, 37.9%. That's Dodgers didn't have a lot of hits. They had 9, but they scored 6 runs on 9 hits, and that was enough. And a lot of those hits were very, very hard hit balls, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what else the Diamondbacks could do. I applaud Torey Lovullo for at least trying the Joe Mantiply thing. It seemed to work for a little bit, but I also think that, I don't know. There's times where you have to wonder why this team hasn't pivoted and at least given a shot to some of the guys once again in the minor leagues, especially Blake Walston, who's kind of been shoving for the Aces, versus going, this route where you kind of have to get tricky and stack, the reliever there going out there as the opener and then turning to Slade Cecconi for 5 innings, starting in the 2nd inning. It's a weird way to go. I see what Torey was trying to do as far as give Slade that break from being seen so often early and then having it turn on him. But yeah, I don't really know what to say about this trickery that they attempted today.
Me either. I don't. Slade is just. I already said it. He's just the weirdest ever. I don't know if we'll ever really understand how he can just mow down people and look like a Cy Young candidate and then give up 4 home runs in an inning. Like, it's just seems like that's just who he is. But
I feel like the plan was just to get a couple of innings out of him, but once the score was 6-1, they just left him out there at that point.
Probably,
to not spend the bullpen, considering they still have 2 more games here in the series.
Probably, but I think that I also think that, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know what to say about Slade. He's dumbfounded me. I'm lost for words.
I'm ready to play the blame game at times. I know Jesse said I was crazy for the Joe Mather stuff, but I just feel like the way that this team is so bad collectively at times that, don't you blame the hitting coach? Don't you start blaming the coaching staff and the managers beyond just the players? And I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus or accuse anybody that they should lose their jobs over anything. But when you have a team, where so many of your key pieces are hitting, below, 250 with an OPS, Corbin Carroll's OPS 549, Gurriel 669, Gino 603, Gabby Moreno 663. I don't know. There just seems to come a time where, that it possibly should be looked at that it's not, that there's a common link there. But I don't know. Like Jesse said, you do look at the overall numbers, and this team does rank, in the top 10 in a lot of offensive categories. However, I just think that that's kind of fraudulent based on a lot of those runs and a lot of that production being in 5 or 6 games, right?
Yeah. It's why this team had a good run differential for as long as they did until the Tigers game.
Right.
Because they just, whenever they would get up big, they just put it on. And that's the worst type of team to be a fan of, it feels like, because you're sitting there and you're like, we could be so good, but we just don't win close games at all.
Yeah. How does it connect? How can you make it carry over? Right. And I mean, I'm sure even a struggling team like the Tigers, who had no offensive production tonight, wanted to try to carry over what they did to the Diamondbacks, beyond, because they came into that series struggling and somehow managed to put up the runs that they did against Arizona. So I really don't know. I mean, it does seem like at times Diamondbacks or other teams can get right against Diamondbacks, and then you see what the Diamondbacks here could get close to doing against the Dodgers team, but just fall a little short. Matt says, hang around 500 by the All-Star break and see what happens. And thank you for your positivity, Matt, because I think that was the key, here overall, right? If this team can somehow not let things get too bad and not fall too far behind 500 when they do get these injured players returning, they'll get a boost. And I think the biggest boost here can come from Perdomo when we see Perdomo come back. So hopefully that happens sooner than
But
later. I know
I'm Perdomo guy, but I'll even say that like Kevin Newman's one of the better players on the team right now.
good point. What happens
So
with Kevin Newman when Perdomo returns? Right.
if
Yeah,
Perdomo comes in and replaces Kevin Newman's production and is one of the better players on the team, we still have to sit Kevin Newman now. So
yeah.
I don't know how much that is going to make maybe just from a pure vibe standpoint, because that's what Jerry does. But I do think that I someone said it earlier, like right at the beginning of the show, and I'm struggling to find it, but like the National League wild card race is really bad right now. I
Yeah.
was looking at it yesterday, and like the Padres are like the team to beat, and like it's Padres, Giants, us. Like there's just kind of a mess of like slightly below 500 teams. If we can hang around 500, we can turn this thing around. We can. Like it's just
I agree.
they can't, they have to stop playing such a losing brand of baseball, which they've done all season long. And there becomes a point where that snowballs and you can't stop it. Like they're going to get into clutch situations and consistently not be able to do anything because they're in their heads about it. And it's certainly going in that direction at the time as we speak right now.
It really comes down to the fact that this team is good against left-handed pitching, bad against right-handed pitching, and they're seeing a lot of right-handed pitching, 28th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching. So I don't know. I think that there are some factors here. It's not just a mystery, but at the same time, it's because the guys that they kind of count on to be good against right-handed pitching aren't right now. So we'll see what happens with this team as it progresses. I do think the one thing about it, when you talk about Jerry P being a vibe guy, right? It's not just that. It's the fact that the guys that they need to turn it around are already healthy and on this team. We've talked about it a whole bunch, right? So it's like it's not like all of the components are missing. The components are there and they're playing every day. They're just not playing good baseball right now, and I don't know what the answer is for those guys. And right now there's too many of them for this team to be considered a competitive team, right? Like there's too many pieces right now, too many guys offensively not swinging the bat well for this team to be a good baseball team. Like you can say what you want about pitching, you can say what you said want about Slade. They put up 4 runs today against the Dodgers team. That's enough runs that could have been enough to win the game. Like that's not outside of reason to believe that the Diamondbacks could have won a 4-2 ball game against the Dodgers. But I just overall throughout this season, the fact when you look at this lineup and you see what these guys are putting up, it's it's kind of depressing. And again, it's also fixable because the guys are here and they could turn it around. I just don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how to do that. And they don't know how to do that. And it's frustrating all of us. We're all frustrated. I don't know what to do, Damon. I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm just angry. This
There's
is
some talk about benching Gino in the chat, and I just don't think that Torey is going to do that. I just think Torey's going to die with Gino.
What's the answer? And are you willing to sacrifice his defense? Is there someone that's going to give you more offense and more defense there. I don't know. I mean, the Diamondbacks do have like options in the minor leagues, right? They don't. They might have an option in the minor leagues. I don't know, but we'll see. Nicholas, thank you for your super chat. He says to give some positivity. We only like one team with a record above 500 from now until the end of June. There you go. Yeah, that's a good point. So after they get done with this Dodgers team, they have a lot of winnable games ahead of them on the schedule. And I like that. Let's stay positive. Thank you. Thank you for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Of course, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, we implore you to do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever these shows that we do here go live. Drop us a like. We appreciate when you do that. Of course, if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, the audio way of doing that is leaving us a review. We appreciate that so much, especially those 5-star reviews. Make sure you're subscribed on your favorite audio podcasting app as well. That would be great. We'd love to have you guys subscribed. If you have not signed up for the BetMGM Sportsbook app yet, you should do so now. Makes nights like tonight a little bit more fun. I may or may not have put a little bit of money on Corbin Carroll to strike out, and he may have done that more than once. And like, again, just because they lose doesn't mean I need to lose. So download the BetMGM Sportsbook app right now. Deposit at least $10 into your newly created account. Use our code of PHNX when you sign up. Of course, when you place your first wager, you can receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Of course, right now is a great time to do so if you're a baseball fan. They have their brand new Grand Slam Jackpot promotion where every weekend, that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday throughout the MLB season, you can get down by placing a $10 or more wager on any player to hit a home run every weekend. If that player does, in fact, hit a Grand Slam, you can win your share of $50,000. You might win the whole thing, or you could win your share of that prize with every other winning bettor. Sign up right now for BetMGM and use that bonus code of PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile app for at least $10. You will receive $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. All right. Well, of course, I am here in my lovely home. And the way I got started on owning this home is through our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. And of course, they are financial experts who are committed to giving back to their members and the community. They offer financial solutions tailored to help real people achieve their financial goals and dreams. Join a credit union that's committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with its members. When you open a checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 today. Of course, Jesse Friedman is in Los Angeles right now. He will be joining us at some point in the show, but I don't know when because there's a lot of stuff going on over there at Dodger Stadium. So we'll bring him in as soon as he gets here. But Damon, come talk to me some more because I hate this. I don't like this. I don't like what happened here tonight. Am I off? Am I off by saying that the Diamondbacks actually had a chance to win in this game? Like it really does feel like maybe just because they were able to keep the Dodgers, scoring all to one inning, that it feels like they were just a few out. I mean, there's things you could nitpick. There was that ball 4 call that was obviously a strike to Ohtani that really felt like it made things start to unravel, but this game felt winnable.
You're telling me that Major League Baseball is giving Ohtani calls?
Oh, God, here it comes.
That would be insane. They would never.
That would be a crazy. That would be a crazy thing to claim, right?
They would never protect their sweet baby Prince Angel Shohei. He could never do possibly anything wrong. If he takes that pitch, it must be a ball.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not crazy for saying that they had a chance of winning. They lost by 2.
Yeah.
course they had a chance of winning.
I mean, the back-to-back jacks gave me a little bit of hope. Of course, you had Cattell coming up there late. Felt like they had a couple of opportunities to get runners on, but of course things didn't go their way. But you know what? It's still Monday, right? And
it is.
You know what we do around here every Monday as our producer. And of course, you also know that even though it doesn't feel like it right now, that every year, Damon, is our year as you go dark and you distance yourself away from me. But of course,
it certainly does not feel like our year.
It does not feel like our year. It does not. It very much does not feel like our year, but every year is our year. Every month is Black History Month. Every month on this show, Women's History Month, and every month on this show, of course, is Black Women's History Month. Every week on this show is Shark Week. Every single day on this show is Earth Day because we recycle. But on Mondays, we go to the mailbag. So let's do that still. Let's do it.
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox. And then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow, my mailbox.
Oh, man. All right. First question. Damon, hit me with it. Let's go.
We got Aaron Hughes, our sweet baby Aaron Hughes, asking what roster moves would you predict for Perdomo and Thomas's returns respectively?
First, I want to congratulate Aaron because he is going to be joining us with the Diamondbacks media. He's going to be writing for our pal Jack Summers over at Sports Illustrated. So congratulations to him. And that is an absolutely outstanding question. I think first off, I feel like Pavin Smith becomes a little expendable.
You think?
Right? And then Blaze Alexander. That to me is the two moves. Right now, it feels like Blaze has very much fallen out of grace with Torey Lovullo in regards to being in the lineup. And I think that Pavin just is that move. I don't even know right now off the top of my head. I could be wrong. Pavin might not even have any more options. I know it's going to upset a lot of our people in the Discord for me saying that, especially our guy Mark. But it is what it is. I think that, it's based on utilization. I can't right now see McCarthy being sent down over Pavin, and I can't see Kevin Newman being sent down over Blaze.
Yeah, no, you got that on the money, I think. I don't really see that going any other way. What the other it's Jake instead of Pavin, which I don't think that could possibly happen based off of the merit of how the two of them have played so far this season.
Right.
And then same thing with Kevin Newman and Blaze Alexander.
Yeah.
And Blaze he started off really hot, and I do think Blaze has potential and is a pretty good hitter in particular, but yeah, obviously he has things to work on defensively. So that gives you kind of that excuse to let him go get that. And then Kevin Newman is helping this team win right now. So
in every way,
I think those decisions are easy, to be honest.
That's how I feel. It's unfortunate because we come to be fans of some of these guys so quickly. You know what I mean? Like we come to really embrace them as, members of this team, especially guys like Blaze who came out of the box hot and then had the mistakes that he made. There were a lot of ups and downs with Blaze, a lot of big hits and then a lot of defensive mistakes, and it just kind of went back and forth, but you really start to have a hard time imagining parting ways with some of these guys. You just have to go right now with the ones that are contributing the most and helping you win the most.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
All right,
get into the next question here. We got Brett Johnson saying, with Ryan Nelson once again struggling and Erod not being back anytime soon, what are the chances that we see Walston or Mena come up in place of Ryan, assuming he gets lit up by the Dodgers?
I don't know if we can take another youngster getting lit up by the Dodgers right now after the way things went tonight, but that's a very valid question. And I think that Ryan Nelson is probably on a short leash at this point. But what are the options, right? Blake Walston, potentially an option. Cristian Mena, I think, is a guy that I would love to see. And sometimes I have a hard time remembering that AAA hitting is just not very good sometimes, Damon. Like, as much as you want to see the numbers in Reno and see guys pitching well, putting up good numbers, and equate the fact that it's very hard to do that in Reno, sometimes it's still not anywhere close to the level of major league hitting. Ryan Nelson and Glass now. That's a great comparison there, Maze Devil.
It's a good verbal meme.
Yeah. Well, I think we can bring in somebody that can add a little bit to this in regards to this conversation. Of course, it's the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman, my vice mayor. Jesse, we were just running through a couple of Mailbag Monday questions, and we were just talking about if Ryan Nelson possibly has a difficult outing against the Dodgers, the same way that we saw Slade Cecconi have here in the third inning. Is there a possibility that we see them turn to a Blake Walston or Christian Mena from AAA?
You're sorry, I missed. I don't know exactly what just went by.
What was that?
But it was extremely loud, whatever it was. I missed some of the questions. So you're talking about are you talking about Cecconi potentially being replaced in the rotation?
No, we're talking about Ryan Nelson potentially being replaced if things don't go well against the Dodgers in his outing upcoming. I mean, honestly, or Slade after tonight. This question was submitted before tonight's game. I mean, is there a possibility that we see them turn one of these other starting pitchers to AAA, either of these guys?
Yeah, I mean it's never great when you've got two starting pitchers in your rotation that you could very easily make the case maybe shouldn't spend too much longer in the starting rotation. That's just the reality for both Nelson and Cecconi at this point. The Diamondbacks seem more, at least from what we heard immediately after these games. I mean, Torey Lovullo pretty immediately shut down the idea of Ryan Nelson not making his next start. That wasn't the case today with Slade Cecconi. Torey was asked, "Are you guys committed to having Slade make his next scheduled start?" Or I guess maybe they would try doing it something like they did this time with the opener. But Torey was non-committal. He said that that's a discussion that they haven't had. So it still remains to be seen whether the Diamondbacks actually keep Slade in their rotation. I'm hoping you guys can't hear all of the chaos that's happening behind me because
we can hear it, but
okay,
it's enjoyable. Right. It's fine. I commend you for your ability to just stay focused and try to plow through it. But the big question we had, obviously, was whether or not Slade was in fact tipping his pitches. So we wanted to get an update from you in regards to that question being answered after the game.
Yeah, there's sort of a lot there. I don't know if we have. There's a few videos that we'll get to that you can hear directly from these guys. But the 30,000-foot view is that there was suspicion of pitch tipping for sure. Torey Lovullo definitely acknowledged that it was something that was discussed, and Slade Cecconi also said that it was something that was brought to him at some point. But
and we do have Torey on Slade ready to go. Here is what Torey had to say in regards to Slade tipping his pitches.
I don't know exactly. We don't have to go into it. There's a chance he could have been pitch tipping. I don't want to go too far into it, but the Dodgers beat us fair and square, whether he's tipping or not. They hit some balls very hard and got on base and did their job.
Well, it seemed like he wasn't landing anything other than throwing strikes with anything other than his fastball up until that grand slam. Yeah, it was the velocity was inconsistent. Right. The spin was inconsistent. There was a lot of inconsistencies to his outing. That's why the Dodgers did what they did. If there was the tipping advantage as well, I'm not sure, but that's our job to figure it out, and we will.
There were a lot of clues that would say that he was tipping his pitches, but like Torey said, does it really matter if he was? I mean, isn't that just? It's not like that's cheating. It's not like it's sign stealing or something like that, which is also kind of part of the game. But I mean, that's more of a mistake on the pitcher's part more than anything, right? That they're tipping their pitches.
I think my biggest takeaway is that whether Slade Cecconi was tipping pitches or not, he didn't pitch very well. And so it's hard for me to really get too wrapped up in that question, because if you're out there and you can only really land your four-seam fastball for strikes, which is sort of what it felt like for Slade, especially in that third inning, he just couldn't land any of the secondary stuff. A lot of it was missing up above the zone. or there were some misses that were over the middle, which obviously weren't great either. And no pitcher is really going to be all that great when you can only locate your four-seam fastball. And that's kind of what Slade Cecconi was, at least in the early stages of this game. He did kind of find his way toward the end of this game and actually retire the last 12 hitters he faced. It was a weird day for Slade Cecconi, right? The narrative has been very clear so far. Of the first time through, he's absolutely electric, 1 for 43 coming into today. And then after that is when the floodgates open and when he gets into some trouble. Today it was very much the opposite. The first time through, Slade had given up 5 of his runs at that point. He did give up, I believe, a homer after that would have been technically the second time through. But yeah, Slade was not good at the beginning of his outing, and then he actually settled down and finished really well. By there wasn't a ton of swing and miss. I think there was only 1 strikeout out of those final 12 hitters that he retired. But there was a lot of soft contact in there. There were a lot of ground balls. There were some lazy fly balls. He pitched pretty well after that point in this game. Unfortunately for the D-backs, I mean, the offense is another part of this game. I actually thought they had some pretty decent at-bats and, strung together a better offensive game than it looked, at least in the early stages against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. But all it took was those 6 runs, and, they were unable to overcome that.
What do you make of this game overall? Like, I have a hard time really, I guess, assessing it, because it does feel like the Diamondbacks played the Dodgers well, right? But, I think that's just because the Dodgers put up so many runs, in early on in this game. They were up 6-1, that they were kind of in cruise control and didn't really need to continue to pummel the Diamondbacks. They did make, they did put up some runs late, which is something they haven't been able to do. But it just, it also feels kind of like, I don't know why, but I said it earlier, it feels like loser talk to say, like, the Diamondbacks played the Dodgers well tonight, even though they lost 6-4. Like, they did. They were able to put up zeros, or keep the Dodgers, off the scoreboard for most of the night. You just really had Slade have that one bad inning. Plus, you had the fact that Slade was able to rebound, and you didn't, have Lovullo having to turn to his bullpen and exhaust his bullpen for the rest of the series. So it was an impressive, way for Slade to come back out and give the Diamondbacks, 3 more innings after what transpired there in the third. But, I don't know. What were your thoughts overall here on how they played against the Dodgers?
I mean, Yoshinobu Yamamoto against Slade Cecconi was, it didn't look great on paper, right? And in reality, it didn't go great either.
It lived up to the hype, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Friday game against the Tigers, right, where it's Tarek Skubal against Ryan Nelson, and Diamondbacks did sort of embarrass themselves in that game, Ryan Nelson against Tarek Skubal, that's a tough one to win, but that doesn't mean you should be losing by 13 runs. They didn't do that today. They were able to stay out of that. They, as you said, they held down the Dodgers pretty well the rest of the way. There were some sketchy moments here and there. Bryce Jarvis walked the high wire once again, as he often does. But yeah, the reality is that the Diamondbacks are just not getting what they were hoping for from a lot of their young pitching talent, right? Tommy Henry is in Reno. Ryan Nelson has an ERA just over 7. Slade Cecconi has an ERA over 6 in the majors right now. Bryce Jarvis in the bullpen has, as I said, was able to walk the high wire and didn't give up any runs today, but he's got basically the same number of walks as strikeouts this year. Yeah. So you haven't necessarily been super blown away by what you've gotten from him. And in a perfect world, the D-backs weren't going to need to rely on these guys a whole lot. But with Eduardo Rodriguez and Merrill Kelly out, they've had to rely on them quite a bit.
Well, we have more from Slade on his outing, and I think this is if he was tipping his pitches or what he thought on what was going on against the Dodgers here.
Yeah, he talks a little bit about tipping here, and then we have another clip as well where he kind of hones in on the tipping even further. But yeah, here's the first one.
I gave them pitches to hit, and they hit them.
You think they knew what was coming?
I don't think that was it.
That wasn't the problem?
I don't think that was it.
How about the adjustment that you made to settle in and end the way you did? What did you do?
I everything just synced up mechanically. I started moving consistently down the rubber, and after that it was what I'd like to do. Every inning I go out there. It was very unfortunate that the third happened and all the runs came in the way they did.
Was the situation all different for you coming out of the bullpen? Was that a different piece at all?
I've done it before. Definitely different. It's the first time I've done it this year. It was a little bit. I don't want to make excuses, so I'm gonna refrain from any more.
First of all, were you sitting on Todd Walsh's shoulder while recording that?
I was not. I know Todd pretty well. He's a good dude. That would be a little weird.
Very close. Very
But
close.
no, me holding up my phone is nearly sitting on Todd Walsh's shoulder, although I am not.
I'm proud of you. I feel like I've taught you well when it comes to that. Like, you're just all up in the mix. Like, I don't care if Todd's face is in front of my camera. I am here.
It's a lot easier on the road. There's only 4 or 5 reporters in these scrums, so it makes it a lot easier on me.
Yeah.
But it's interesting there. Like, you hear Slade taking a little bit of a different approach here, whereas Torey was pretty open to the idea of pitch tipping, maybe contributing to what happened for Slade tonight, where Slade was pretty dismissive there, where Todd is asking him, do you think they knew it was coming? And Slade says pretty adamantly, I don't think that was it. However, we did ask some follow-up questions with regard to the tipping situation, and slade got into a little bit more specifics. Here's what he had to say there.
Torey was making it sound like he hadn't, or you guys hadn't ruled out the idea of tipping. It sounds like you don't. It seems like you have ruled that out.
I haven't looked at it. It was brought to me, but I haven't looked at it in detail. We'll have to look more, but we'll see.
So it wasn't like it was an adjustment that you made mid-game to stop doing whatever was brought to you. It was
not particularly. No, I'll have to go look. I'll have to go talk with the people that are thinking that might be the case, see what they have, and figure it out from there.
I guess I'm confused because it very much now. Brent Strom coming to his pitchers in between innings and showing them stuff on the iPad is nothing new, and that does not necessarily mean that he's tipping pitches. But it felt like, and Damon and I were discussing it earlier. I was watching the television broadcast; he was listening to the radio broadcast. Both teams were in agreement that they both felt like he was tipping pitches. And then when you go back and look at the footage, there's a lot of whispering between the Dodgers and sharing information. And then you have in between the inning where he does, have this interaction with Brent Strom and the iPad. You follow that up with the fact that he was able to come out and be effective once again. Like, there's just a lot of signs pointing to him tipping pitches without there being any clear indicator that he was. But it very much felt like everybody kind of thought that was the case.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. I mean, sometimes coaches and players are a little bit hesitant to be super open about that because they don't want other teams picking up on it. Although, granted, other teams are already so all over this stuff that it probably, like, I don't think one of us writing an article or us on this show talking about Slade tipping pitches or whatever, if he had said more, if that really means that, the next team that Slade faces, they're really listening up on the PHNX D-backs podcast and reading all the articles and everything.
I'll change the headline.
We might need to make this a little bit less SEO friendly. But yeah, I'm going to be, naturally a little bit skeptical in situations like this. Again, I go back to the fact that Slade just wasn't really pitching all that well. It's one thing if you have a pitcher who is hitting edges, who is executing pitches, who's doing all the things, and the opposing team just inexplicably is hitting him anyway. That's one situation where it's like, okay, maybe tipping pitches really is the difference maker there. Slade, again, he did say that it was brought to him, the idea of tipping. So it's not like I'm dismissing the idea entirely. I think there could be something there. But it just isn't like the main concern that I would have coming away from this start. Slade also talked a lot about just mechanically how he felt out of whack coming out of the gate and how he was inconsistent with his landing spot on the mound. That was sort of what he was saying was causing him to be missing location with a lot of his secondary pitches. I also asked him about some of the velocity variance that we saw in this game, which of course was something that we've noted in past starts with him as well. His the pitches that he threw to Kike Hernandez that started off that third inning, his fastball was 91, 92 in that at bat. That was only the second inning that he had thrown. You wouldn't expect his velo to drop so significantly that soon. And he also attributed that to some of the mechanical stuff that was just out of whack in this game. So, you know, from what we've heard, he was able to kind of figure that out, and hopefully the mechanical stuff is set to go and won't be an issue in the future.
Are people just throwing chairs around and shit in the back? What is going on? Yoshi and I are both all what we want. We want to know what's happening there. It sounds like you're at closing time in an industrial kitchen, but you're in the press box. It's weird.
That's why I'm here, Derek. You wanted the sounds of the ballpark, so you're getting that's the crack of the bat and all of the glorious sounds of baseball. No, I think they're. I think we're far enough after the game ended at this point that the cleaning crews are behind me, cleaning up after all these filthy Dodgers fans here. They've got all the stuff all over the place everywhere. So yeah, apologies for the noise on my end. I can still hear okay, but I don't know what it sounds like to you guys. So
it's loud, is what it is.
It's a war zone, probably.
Getting over this loss with a Desert Daydream hazy IPA from our friends at Four Peaks. They have all sorts of wonderful beers. I've talked about how much I enjoy the 15-pack variety pack, but you can also just go get some fresh out of the tap at your Four Peaks location near you. You can visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. You can also check out at Four Peaks Brewer, Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly, but do not miss out on the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale, which is out now available. You can get it in cans and supermarkets. You can get it on the tap all over the place. So make sure not to miss out on that or any of the wonderful beers they have to offer. Of course, another great thing you don't want to miss out on is games, and you can do so with our friends at Game Time. You can be listening to all these sounds in person at Dodger Stadium, like Jesse is right now, and you can save up to 60% off by buying last-minute tickets for concerts, sports, events, comedy shows, all sorts of stuff. You can even save more than that with last-minute exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. You can check out the zone deals that they have. They have even more that you can save when you look for certain sections. You can also get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with our friends at Game Time. Go download the app right now and use our promo code of PHNX. When you do, you will download the app, create an account with PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, Jesse, we were digging into the mailbag, but before we get back into the last few questions we had, we did want to get, of course, your number. We know that this number up here, this 6-4 score, it might be a lie. It might be the truth. I don't know. I don't trust many things in life, but what I do trust is the numbers because they never lie. So what do you got for tonight's game?
Tonight's pretty simple. 311 is the number. This is the Diamondbacks expect. No, there you go.
No, yeah.
Of course I knew that. 311 is the Diamondbacks expected batting average in this game, which I believe was actually a few points higher than the Dodgers. And it just goes back to the point that we made earlier that the D-backs offense was able to scratch across some runs in this game. Kevin Newman had another big day going 3 for 4. I imagine you guys might have already talked about him a little bit.
He was our king snake, in fact.
He's very deserving. I mean, he really as much as we talk about Geraldo Perdomo and the very legitimate ways that the Diamondbacks have missed him, like Kevin Newman is out here playing a pretty solid defensive shortstop with like a 760 OPS now, something like that. about as good of a stopgap as you could possibly imagine there. So he had some good swings in this game again. Ketel Marte hit a baseball 117 miles per hour off the bat, which it did get caught. And there were a few, like, I think you could move some of the D-backs batted balls over just like a few feet. If you did that at like a few different points in this game, you could find your way to 6 runs, Derek. There were some good Dodgers defense in this game in that third inning, in the top of the third, when the D-backs actually had a 1-0 lead. Gabby Moreno hit a line drive to the right side of the infield, a really nice play by Miguel Rojas that kept him off base to start that inning. And then
right
Christian Walker, right? Yeah, exactly. And then Christian Walker to end that inning hit a line drive to right field. Jason Hayward made a nice sliding grab there. That's 2 of the 3 outs in that inning. If those guys somehow find their way on base, that could be a crooked number in that frame. Yeah. And if Ketel is able to come through with that hit, I mean, you've got runners at second and third in that situation. So if you take the 117 mile an hour dart, you just slide it a little one way or the other away from Mookie Betts at shortstop, you could find your way to a different outcome. So all that to say,
I'm supposed to be the guy that does that. You're supposed to be the realist. I'm supposed to be the optimist. What is happening here? Because I like it, and I'm starting to feel better about this. You're making me feel better.
Expected batting average has a way of doing that, because it doesn't. Yeah, it does. It doesn't know like what direction balls were hit. It's like 117 miles an hour at a launch angle of 10 degrees or whatever, that's probably going to fall for a hit.
That's a 7-11 batting average right there for sure. Well, we do have some more questions, Jesse, and I did want to get you involved, especially this one about a boy band we have coming up. But of course, what do we got here? Damon, you got some more questions for us?
Let's do it.
There he is.
I got Gabriel here saying, will anyone on the team reach 30 home runs?
No. The answer is no. I am convinced nobody on this team is going to hit 30 home runs. Convinced.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Christian Walker is at right now. He would probably be the best bet in my mind. Jock Peterson could just be tough because he's a platoon guy. I think he's on pace for closer to 20 than 30. Corbin Carroll, obviously, are a long ways away from that with the start that he's gotten off to. Okay, so 8 he's basically on pace for 30. He's on pace for just like maybe 28, 29 at this point. So
and he's
Christian
not hitting
Walker
very well right now, so he could really turn it around. Like he could improve his production and increase that home run total. But I mean, we at one time during this offseason, we're like, maybe they have 3 30 home run hitters on this team. Ha! And I'm sure that was just me and not Jesse, but still,
I think we were thinking more that they would have a lot of 20 home run hitters. You could see a world where Corbin Carroll, Gino, Lourdes, Christian Walker, Jock Peterson, you could see all those guys getting to 20. 30 was gonna be a little bit more difficult. What is Ketel at right now? I mean,
it's 7, I want to say.
Okay. So yeah, he's on pace for more like 25-ish then probably. But you could see I could envision Ketel getting to 30.
Ketel has 9.
He's got 9.
Oh, okay. There you go. So there's your one player who I think is
home run hitter.
I think Ketel's on pace to do it, and that wouldn't surprise me. He hit 32 back in 2019. So granted, 2019 the baseball was a little bit crazy, but yes.
Piece of Yossi says Jock will hit 30 foul home runs. He's already hit 30 foul home runs easily. Well, we got one of your questions. Speaking of which,
I just have to say real quick, I saw a tweet today that was it was a video of Barry Bonds just hitting like a totally epic home run, and the caption was Jock Peterson if every batted ball was 15 feet to the left. Doesn't it feel like Jock Peterson, it's not only the foul home runs, it's his propensity for hitting line drives right at people. This is an issue for him last year in San Francisco. Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
That's pretty perfect. That's pretty perfect. All right, what else we got, Damon?
Next question. I'm throwing a QB sneak in here on you, Derek. We got Jacob Schultz with it's pool party time at Gila River. Who are the 3 PHNX people and 3 D-backs players you are inviting? Obviously, Derek is not invited because this is a boys' trip. So this question goes to Jesse and Damon.
Yes, Jacob. Yes.
Okay, so moving on. Next question. We can just move on from that question. We don't have time for that shit. What else we got, Damon?
No, come on, Derek. That's a good question. So obviously, I'm inviting Perdomo.
Yeah, that was a given. Yeah.
Yeah, let me scoot on here. Obviously, Perdomo's going. Vibes guys. I think Lourdes probably has to be there. And I think I might go Alec. I think that might be my trio of D-backs players there. PHNX employees, definitely Anthony Totri.
Crazy.
For sure. He's just, he's a good time. He's going to bring the sunglasses. He's probably going to ask if you want some ladies to come along. That's just the kind of guy that Totri is. And then
you want Espo? You want Espo there?
Yeah, Espo would be a good.
He's a good vibes guy.
This is terrible.
Yeah, Espo's bringing his flip flops, that's for sure. And then last one.
I
don't know. I'll take Craig Morgan because I think he's bringing.
Oh my god! Oh my god! This is why I need to be on every question. Are you shitting me? Espo and Craig Morgan, Jacob. I want a fucking apology from you. These men didn't bring up Flex. You're not taking Flex to a pool party. What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you shitting me? You're not taking Shane to a pool party?
Last week, Shane got invited to a pool party, and he was like, I'm not a pool party guy. I don't really like it. So you invite Shane. You take the guy who doesn't like pool parties, and I'll take
Craig Morgan. Yeah, you take Craig Morgan to your pool party. You take Espo. Both of those guys are gonna fucking leave an hour in. They're not even gonna stay. They're not even gonna say goodbye to you. They're gonna Irish goodbye you. They're gonna fucking walk out the door when you're not looking. And these are the men you chose to bring with you. I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that I had a chance to be omitted from a question. And Damon, you fucking blew it. You blew it. What else we got? Moving on. Next question.
Next question comes from Yoshi. He says, with the way Torey has handled the last 2 games, do you think Ginkel is now out of his 7-8-9? Martinez was up in the bullpen, so he has taken over Ginkel's spot. Also, do you think if I get the Mets to trade for Javi Baez, he'll stop torching us?
No. That answer to the last question is no, I don't think that. But more importantly, the earlier question, I don't know. What do you think, Jesse? I mean, I feel like Torey is not the kind of guy to be that reactionary, and honestly, to a fault, he's stuck with guys for too long. So do you think that we would see, like, I don't know if Justin Martinez would be that guy yet, but do you think Ginkel is still in there as the 8th inning guy, essentially, there behind Ryan Thompson, if everything were to go as planned in a game for a team, for his team, not a team, this team, the team we're talking about?
Torey has said that Ginkel is still going to be used in leverage spots. So he's been pretty insistent that Ginkel's role isn't going to change. That doesn't necessarily line up with what we've seen. Like we did just see yesterday, Torey go to Ryan Thompson for 2 innings instead of bringing in Ginkel.
Correct.
So
that seemed a little desperate.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it evolves, right? I mean, Ginkel, I think his ERA is at 5 at this point in the year. I think we all understand he's a better pitcher than that, but he hasn't been quite as sharp this year. Like his strikeout rate is down about 10 percentage points from where it was last season, which is a really big drop off. It's not just like a batted ball luck thing or whatever. He genuinely hasn't been as effective. His slider isn't getting as much swing and miss. His fastball isn't getting as much swing and miss. But yeah, Torey, I think Torey is still going to stick with Ginkel in leverage spots generally. Yeah.
No, I would agree with you there. All right. One more question, then we're going to get out of here. Last question. Damon, hit us with it.
Comes from Michael Rokicki. He says, the boy band conversation in the Discord the other night got me thinking, what D-backs players would you put in a boy band and what would they be called?
This is the easiest question I've ever been asked.
Well, apparently me and Damon aren't qualified to answer these fun questions anymore. So I guess you have to take the reins
it's
here,
like
Derek.
it's like that, Jesse. Oh, it's like that. Do you want please, can you give your input on who you want to be in a Diamondbacks boy band? Go ahead, Jesse.
No, it's all you, Derek. It's all you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Damon, put the picture up. We already know the answer to this. There's your boy band right there. There's your boy band. It's Jake McCarthy, it's Corbin Carroll, it's Trey Jameson, it's Alec Thomas. And I don't know if they'd be called Happy Jewelers, but I don't know, maybe Two Fangs. I don't know, Bubble Tail. I don't know.
No Perdomo, huh?
Oh, that's probably a big omission. Boy bands can be bigger. They don't just have to be four-man boy bands. They can be 5 or 6.
I'm making a Latin boy band.
Okay. Is it
difference.
Perdomo? Is it Gabby and it's Lourdes and Cattell?
Yeah, maybe Gino.
I don't know how I could forget Gino. He's not hitting well, but I mean he
had a double today. He did have a double today. We need these guys that are here. Like Jesse, again, we talk about the injuries quite a bit, but the one thing I'm super concerned with is again, Kevin Newman. You're not really replacing a whole lot there if Geraldo Perdomo comes back. Like we said, you're actually losing one of your better offensive players. And we know Alec Thomas wasn't exactly lighting things up at the dish himself offensively. You also factor in the fact that these guys will have to probably take some time to get going, right? They're probably not going to return to the lineup and just immediately be hitting 500 or whatever, right? So, I don't know. There's a lot of concerns here, and it also feels like the Diamondbacks are still also hanging around in these games with several guys with abysmal OPSs that shouldn't be hitting the way they are. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the Diamondbacks need some of these guys to get going, and you did see some signs of that. Like Gino, as we mentioned, the double. Lourdes Gurriel hit his first home run since April 16th. It's been more than a month since we've seen a home run from Lourdes, which is kind of funny because I would think he homered in the first 3 games of the season in a row, and then he goes 34 days without hitting a homer. That's a very Lourdes thing, right? We've established that he's a very streaky hitter. No huge concerns for him at this point, at least on my end. I guess that's a silver lining from tonight is you're seeing some signs of life from Lourdes and from Gino. You need those guys not only to get on base, but to hit for some power. And I guess we'll see here in the next few days whether they're able to continue that.
All right. Well, Jesse will remain in Los Angeles until we let him come home. So make sure to drop us a like. If we don't get enough likes on these shows, Jesse never comes home. He just lives in Los Angeles now. But of course, you can follow him while he's there in Los Angeles at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, you can follow me here in this arcade that I live in at Cap_Caveman with a K. The people's producer, though, most importantly, is at Damon Dog. That's Damon DAWG. Of course, we are Damon's dogs.
Bark, bark.
Bark, bark. Our show is at PHNX. We fucking nailed that. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks. Of course, but all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for stopping by. We will be back tomorrow night with another post-game show after tomorrow's matchup with the Dodgers. So make sure to come back again here for that. And hopefully a little bit better times. Hopefully we can be here with the good music and some good vibes. So make sure to come back here for that. In the meantime, we hope you guys have a wonderful night. We appreciate you stopping by. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you don't invite Craig Morgan and Espo to the pool party. What are you doing?
We all silly like the mayor.